también. I'm also named Peru. One of the great national songs of that wonderful South American nation, Peru. I'm very pleased to have visited many, many times, in all of my family many times, and to see how that country has evolved so beautifully under the guidance of people like the former President Geraldo Toledo, who has written a new book called The Shared Society. Mr. President, welcome here to our studio in New York. How are you, sir?
Geraldo, thank you so much for inviting me. I have to begin by saying that I'm an admirer of yours for many, many years.
Thank you. I'm an admirer of your wonderful, wonderful country.
Listen, it's a country that has a lot of roots, a lot of history, a sense of belonging, but also it's a country that's looking at the future and together trying to shape the profile of life of our children and the children of our children about the year 2050, when the world will be 9 billion people.
9 billion, right. And South America must continue its evolution, and you speak to that in your book, The Shared Society. What's the most important thing that Peru, South America, all of us have to do?
Number one, to get in our hands one of the most effective weapons to kill the poverty, inequality, exclusion, which is the quality of education. And quality of education is intrinsically related with nutrition and health care. Life is too important. One life lost is too many. This book deliberately has been written with certain doses of irreverence academically. I'm a Stanford professor, a Harvard professor, but I decided that not to use our tools to forecast the past, but rather to take the risk to look at the future and build the life profile of our children.
The Stanford and Harvard educated former president of Peru, Geraldo Toledo, is my guest. He's written a book, The Shared Society, A Vision for the Global Future of Latin America. I love Peru. Lima, Machu Picchu, what a place. My kids, Cusco, Iquitos. I even took my boat up the Amazon River to Iquitos on the Amazon side of Peru. I love the country. What burden do you bear? Did you, certainly when you were in office, as the first representative of the indigenous people of Latin America to hold a powerful position as president? Usually it was the European descendant. You were the first Native American to hold that office in Peru. What burden did that put on you?
It's a great privilege, and yet I was sentenced when I was elected not to fail. I'm the first indigenous person that comes from the Andes who have been elected democratically in 500 years in South America. And I say South America because Benito Juarez was in Mexico first. If I would have failed, my people will never have forgiven me. I'm the result of a statistical error. In the world of probabilities, there is an error margin. I'm part of the error margin. And I swear to God that I'm going to do everything that I can and the rest of the days that God gives me to make that my people do not wait to be another statistical error, but that they have the right to learn and have access to quality of education in order to be free.
The book is The Shared Society by Geraldo Toledo, former president of Peru. What do you make of the way you've been back in, I don't know where you've recently traveled from, but you have to have heard about Donald Trump's campaign for president and the way he has described Mexican immigrants, and by extension Latin American immigrants. I wonder, what do you think? Is there a basis for his feelings in your view? Tell me how you feel about the president.
Let me be candid. With the risk of losing my visa, I respect those who've made money, and hopefully they do it in this country who institutions work. But it's a lack of understanding of the role of the Latins who are the common partners of the United States. And this last election, President Obama, this election was decided in Florida. There are 17% of the United States voters are Latin descent. By the year 2050, in the United States, there will be 47% of the voting population. Conclusion, you will have a Latin descent US president. So if Mr. Trump does not understand that the world has shrunk, that they are coming to this country to work for him, not always well paid, but they're looking for the future of the kids. It is misunderstanding a society that is to be shared, that is shrinked, and that he is benefited from the work of the Latin people who come to this country.
I agree with you. Before I lose you, and then we'll discuss that with our listeners later, Pope Francis just concluded his visit to South America. Your take on Pope Francis, the first Latino to hold the Holy See.
I'm going to see him soon. I think he is the man who has turned around with the courage to ask forgiveness for a lot of the mistakes that the church has made over a long period of time. He recently concluded in Paraguay a visit and saying that natural resources need to be sold, but the benefits of the natural resources need to be shared with the native communities to provide education, not as a gift, but as a right. Poor people do not expect to be given fish away. They demand, Geraldo, the right to learn how to fish. That's what the Pope has said. It has come the time to provide those people the right to learn how to fish without insulting the dignity of the poor. And finally, this things that we have over here, those iPhones are making that the poor have less patience to continue to be poor in Latin America.
That's right, because they have information, they have less patience to stay poor. The Shared Society, a vision for the global future of Latin America, by our honored guest, the former President of the Republic of Peru, Alejandro Toledo. Muchísimas gracias, señor Presidente. Bienvenido. Y a usted y su esposa. Mi país es su país.
The world has shrunk. My country is your country. Give me the privilege to receive you in my country and to show us some of the beauty and the self-esteem of our society. And if Mr. Trump will ever come to Peru, I will take it through the Amazon River to learn a little bit of the Peruvian culture that represents the Latin American culture.
Quiero ir también. I want to go too. Thank you.